Hi boys and girls, it's Socio back with another video. Bit of a hiatus, just getting some R&R back at it now. So thought I'd bring a video in regards to the impending appointment of Ralf Rangnick as United interim boss until the end of the season, and then reportedly then to take a sort of like a 2-year type of consultancy role at the club and help sort of maybe with transfers and support with the management in terms of maybe the ethos and philosophy that's going to be sort of implemented during his tenure as interim boss and then beyond. So without further ado, let's crack on with that. So just first of all, my thoughts on it. I'm very, very excited, just absolutely buzzing for it. When we knew Solskjaer was about to get the sack, or at least when we thought he should have got the sack weeks and weeks ago, he was one of the names being touted and was very much sort of front of my list, mainly just because if we look at some of the successful managers in world football at the moment, you look at obviously Jurgen Klopp in the Premier League, and then you've got Nagelsmann at Bayern Munich, Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea as well. It's a bit like Marcelo Bielsa, Pep Guardiola, in the sense that Rangnick is the sort of godfather of those types of managers. A lot of his philosophy, you can see the imprint in terms of the way those managers I've just mentioned play, and they are three of the outstanding managers in world football at the moment, and that's, I think, the level that we've been competing against in the Premier League, and over the last few seasons we've fallen incredibly short of that, and that's because we just don't have the tactical acumen that's required to compete at the highest level. Because of that, I think we're squandering talent within the squad as well, where I just don't think they're being they weren't coached to a well enough level. And a lot of this sort of banded about Moments FC, which is totally obviously disrespectful United, but totally accurate. I think a lot of it was just relying on talented individuals to come up with the goods, despite of the tactical system and despite of the coaching. And I think very much this appointment is going to bring a new dawn to Manchester United. I think we'll finally have a system that we can identify, first and foremost, and then when we watch the players play, it'll be very much a question, if we do fail any points in games, it'd be a question of more likely mistakes from the individual players or lack of work ethic, rather than maybe a blame on the coaching side of things. This will be Manchester United with a plan, finally, which arguably could be the first time post Fergie. I mean, I think under Louis van Gaal, Mourinho, there were plans, but both types of football were incredibly negative, and I don't think we had the personnel really under both managers to successfully implement that negative type of formations that they had. Louis van Gaal very much more of the kind of stranglehold type of formation where you use the geometry of the pitch to keep the ball and suck the life out of the game, but without kind of really sort of going for the throat or passing vertically up the pitch and with any real pace, even though it was tactically astute. And then with Mourinho, it's very much just camping in front of your own box, and just hitting on the counter attack. And I think both times we didn't quite have the personnel to sort of do it successfully, but it wasn't because necessarily that we had bad tactics. Whereas under Solskjaer, we've had sort of the best squad we've had, and I think the recruitment has been better under Solskjaer, and that's really sort of paved the way for our development. But it's papered over the cracks in terms of the real lack of experience that Solskjaer and other members of that sort of coaching nucleus have. So, very, very excited. Hopefully we'll get some players back in form as well because of this, that want to impress the new manager. And I'm just very much excited to play pressing and counter-pressing system being able to play vertically, get the fullbacks high, have your midfielders knowing exactly when they need to position themselves, a la how Liverpool do with Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, how Henderson, Fabinho drop into those areas, seamlessly. And then, in terms of the vertical possession, I mean, look at like Tuchel's system and the way the back three, they sort of join up with Jorginho in this almost like defensive diamond, and then Kante very much plays more of an aggressive box-to-box player to counter-press, basically. You try and keep a rondo in the opposition half with sort of Chilwell and Reece James at the point of the edge of the box. And then the moment they lose the ball, Kante's there to sweep in and try and win that back as soon as possible to say maintain those waves of attack. So it's so sophisticated and night and day from how United have played, and I think these are variations of what we could be playing at Manchester United under Rangnick. So that is something to be extremely, extremely excited about. Now, progressing on this video, I just want to look at obviously how a lot of people have sort of touted his sort of main formation as being 4-2-2-2. We know over his time in Hoffenheim, Stuttgart, Hanover, Salzburg, Leipzig, obviously, probably most notably. He's used a myriad of formations, but with the kind of main philosophy of playing vertically. Trying to win the ball back in 5 seconds and when you lost it, trying to, the way Liverpool play, exactly under Klopp, is going to be similar elements to the way that United should hopefully eventually play under Rangnick, in terms of the ability to carve out a chance quickly the moment you win the ball back. It's not about maintaining possession for very, very, very large periods like at City, hence why Pep Guardiola, like I say, very much more in the Bielsa blueprint. It's about just getting the ball, off you go, get the chance, and try and obviously maximise an opportunity while you've got the positions in the ball in positions of danger. So looking at it, I'm just going to go with the sort of one that people have been discussing the most, sort of through what Rangnick's formations have been of late, which is 4-2-2-2. So I've got a formation system in front of me here where we can just do a bit of squad selecting. And I mean, I think on average he plays younger players, right? Brings down the average age of squads. So the question is, will Ronaldo play? I think he'll probably have to play. I mean, one thing I think about Ronaldo as well is that it's about coaching. You could utilise him in a way where he plays more of a hold-up role, less sort of lateral movement with Ronaldo. Maybe he just needs to play in the ball beyond himself and then try and join the box and make a late run into the box, maybe, rather than being sort of like the sort of point of attack at the box. So I do very much think Ronaldo probably maintain his starting place if he trains well. But I do think Rangnick's the kind of manager that, maybe would rotate far more than Solskjaer ever did, and have a little bit more about him, at least a little bit more belief in his own philosophy and his own experience to know what's best for Man United ahead of pandering to Cristiano Ronaldo. So I think that could be one of the things that we see here. But, for the sake of this video, I think Ronaldo will still likely slot in here. I don't think it would go Ronaldo Cavani. Like I said, he likes to keep the players young. Pace, I think a lot of the players that he signs are pacey, so you can get from A to B, ball carrying, like I say, forward momentum, hit runners, and that helps playing vertically if you've got runners to hit who can make dynamic runs going forward. And so I very much think it'll either be Greenwood or Rashford here. Now, I just think it's about who impresses in training, really, personally. But I think based on the pace thing and sort of make up for Ronaldo, I think he could really develop Rashford in this position, these movements. So this is what I'm going for here, as maybe as a front two. Now this one, I think a lot of people sort of in their minds, because they see these two positions as cams, as attacking midfielders, that they'd go Bruno and Van der Beek and get them side by side. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think if I was starting this, one player that's going to play vertically, and that is Bruno. But I just have this feeling that a more dynamic formation in these positions would be to have Van der Beek in here, if I can find him. Here we go. And then Jadon Sancho. So if you have Van der Beek and you have Jadon Sancho in these positions, I just think, you know, the link up would be so good, and they could create overloads in wide areas with the fullbacks as well. So you could have it where, you know, the fullbacks are drifting in here because they like to play high in these formations, but you'd have Van der Beek creating these triangles here. Maybe this player sort of tucks in about there to sort of cover the fullback, but you can create that sort of triangular link up on these sides as they push forward. And these are the kind of players, like I say, smart players that can get into pockets, little flicks. And yeah, I just think, and Jadon Sancho, I think he could play anywhere across the front three, and I think in terms of developing him, I just think he's a player that's got to play more. You got to utilise him. We saw the way he played in the Champions League. It was just a glimpse of that, just his ability to sort of, you know, just always be linking up, always looking for that 1-2, always looking to progress the ball like this and run across into areas, you know, maybe sort of pull the other team apart. And I think these are the kind of players that could do that. Now, very much, I think, you know, if you said Bruno would be the option there for potentially Van der Beek, I would say, or whether you're going to play Bruno and Van der Beek, fine. Like I say, I don't think this is fixed. I think it's partly how they train as well. There has to be a work ethic that'll be implemented here. But that's what I would go with to begin with. And then at the moment, I mean, Telles might get a run. I think it'll just galvanise Shaw, really. I think as much as I like Telles and he's not had a good run of games, I just think Shaw's physicality and actually generally his end product over the last sort of season and a half has been better than Telles. The question is obviously really sort of the defensive side of things in this game. And the question is, if you can get your defensive midfielders actually going into competent areas of the pitch, then, you know, you'll be in a situation where you can close gaps early, you know, maybe snuff out counter-attacks at the right time, and by doing that, I think it exposes less, certainly this left-hand side, which I think has been a talk of the problems at United, certainly in terms of the form of Maguire and Luke Shaw. But yeah, there's not really many options at right back. Dalot, like I said, he's going to have to train out his skin here. I still think he'll go Wan-Bissaka here, at least to begin with. But this is what we're talking about. It's more about just implementing the ethos now, implementing the philosophy, get the players playing a certain way. We'll find out which players can't do it, and you'll probably get the odd shock change. At least I think personally, more rotation happening through the season. Maybe a bit like horses for courses to meet opposition, to play vertically in the best form possible against the opposition that you're playing against. Because obviously that could change against a low block, or whether it's a team that is planning to sort of counter on you, or whether it's a team that obviously is going to have possession against you. So I don't think it's out of the question to see a variation of these players in this system. And then the defensive midfield. Now this is a tricky one. I think Fred is a certainty. I think he's a player that actually will get back to sort of a couple of seasons ago under Mourinho. I think he shows flashes of being good and then flashes of being absolutely dreadful again. What I like about him, obviously, is his bundle of energy and his pace to cover the ground. He covers so much ground. The problem with Fred, I've reiterated on many videos, is it's once he gets there, he cocks it up. And then obviously the other part is his ability to play vertically and pass forward and you know, to hit a Shaw over here or to hit Van der Beek early in here is limited. And it's exacerbated more by McTominay's inability to do it, who's even worse at it. And because of that, you know, it falls under where the sideways pass is probably coming to Fred more under pressure. Whereas obviously if you have a competent player in here that can maybe orchestrate, I think Fred will benefit as well if we had actually a deep line playmaker or someone in here as well. So I think Fred will keep his place. I think that's a certainty in my book. You can call me on that if I'm absolutely wrong, in a couple of weeks' time or what have you. So moving on to this one, I find this one difficult. I think it needs to be someone that can tempo set. Now this is why I've left Bruno off this, because I have a feeling that Bruno would thrive being deeper, a la like a Pogba, but just to orchestrate, maybe just ping balls as much as possible. Now you guys may think, yeah, just switch these around, go Van der Beek here, and things like that. what I just think is, I just think a bit like when Bruno first started at Man United. If you remember his debut, in his debut, he played deeper and he just pinged balls about and just moved around here and here. He didn't go right up here in the number 10. Right, you can watch that clip back. He played in here, and I think he can do it again. I think he'd be great here. And this, while we don't have the players necessarily to play this system effectively under Rangnick, I think this is really an option that they should explore, and that's where you can also get Van der Beek in the team and maybe Sancho more game time as well. So that's how I would set up. And then at my centre backs, I think obviously Varane's a given when he comes back. Now I think this could be the shock, about whether he goes Lindelof here. Lindelof is good at playing forward. Now, Maguire's good at carrying the ball. He's a great carrier. Now, when Maguire's, I know he made that mistake against Watford by carrying the ball and getting it absolutely wrong. Don't get me wrong. I know when he goes wrong. It's just when you sort of look at what Maguire offers in terms of his outstanding bit, in terms of his ability to sort of progress the play. He's got a decent passing range, but it's not Lindelof quality, the way Lindelof can pick out Rashford sometimes that we've seen over numerous seasons. I just think Maguire carries the ball like this. He sucks players over to him and then pops it to Shaw and allows Shaw to carry the ball free. And that is a good thing. But I don't think it's the key. I think he's very much in a battle, I think, to keep his position. And just for a bit of shock value in this video, I think that he could be the one that we don't really know his future. I think what's going to keep him in the team, though, is the fact that Varane is quite injury prone. He's been injury prone thus far this season, so reliability is your best ability, basically. And I think because of that, Maguire and Lindelof probably end up staying in the partnership. Whether Bailly could get a bit more game time, but again, it's questionable. I think even it doesn't matter if you're playing a Rangnick system or a Solskjaer system, continuity and having an understanding is very, very important. So, for the sake of this, I think I will just put Lindelof in, just because I think that could be the option here with Raphael Varane. And I think it's an experiment worth having, really. Like I say, we'll drift these a little bit out here. Like Ronaldo sort of drifting sort of here. Rashford really offering the pace there. Sancho maybe being a bit dynamic, moving across here. Like I say, interchangeable, but this kind of vertically would be the system that I would play in. And obviously, this has been up for debate. I've seen across the board about how you could effectively play this the best way. Now, a lot of people have been saying, I've seen it's been doing the rounds on Twitter, that Henderson is more of your archetypal sweeper keeper. Now, I think he has elements where he likes to get involved and come off the line, and I agree with all that. I just think his goalkeeping positioning in this terms of saving is not great. And also, one thing I must say about him is you go from one extreme to the other where you want to be involved all the time, and I feel like because of that he would be calamitous. But at the same time, he's not been given a good run at number one because he had COVID to know whether this could be a really effective system. So I have personally no aversion to trying Dean Henderson if he impresses in training and Rangnick thinks, oh yeah, I want Dean Henderson being able to, especially when these fullbacks go, right, you got Fred, and if you do play someone a bit dynamic like Bruno, which is like a sort of deep line playmaker or something like this, if they ever do get caught out, you've got a situation where if they are high, maybe you're setting up like this, maybe Fred goes in here, maybe having a Nemanja Matic or Bruno here, maybe you play a bit like Chelsea and get Fred up here as much as possible and try and pin the teams over here. But at the same time, then you need Henderson here and here. That long ball comes over, it's bang out for a throw-in, or it's control the ball here, just kill the play dead. Varane drops back deep here and it's just an easy slip ball there. Or while you've got these players high, in this final third. It's just a ping over the top, and while the other team sort of pressed on the counter, maybe to chest that ball, there's something that you could expose over here when they're not looking. So, no aversion to doing this. Maybe he'd get De Gea doing it. I think there has been a progression there. But one thing you can't deny about David De Gea is that this season, at least the way he's been playing, he's very much been David De Gea of old in terms of his shot stopping. And until you get sort of the personnel maybe to play to maximise this, one thing I like about De Gea is, he does bring a sense of leadership. Now, it's not necessarily about his command. It's just sort of his general sort of influence on the rest of the players. I do think he's highly thought of in the dressing room, and I do think in terms of his form thus far, I think it'd be unfair to say that Henderson would just be going straight in. But I think there's a debate to be had there. Yeah, so that is my thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Like I say, I just think Bruno could be exploited in a deeper role. Maybe be an improvement on Pogba, more tenacious there. And like I say, if you have a system where the players are a bit more interchangeable and they know what they're doing, they know where they're supposed to be and where to drift in certain areas of the pitch, I think it'll expose players less, like Paul Pogba, obviously expected to go in the summer. So really, I think that position next to Fred, until we sign better personnel, is very much up to grabs, but I think Fred is a mainstay, absolutely. So, yeah, thanks a lot for listening. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.